I always thought the worst thing that could happen was catching your spouse cheating. But I was wrong. The worst part came later, when the people I trusted most tried to ruin me even after I spared them. And that's when our revenge became something much bigger. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to Shadowed Tales, where every truth eventually comes to light. It was supposed to be another quiet Tuesday. Work had drained me, like usual. Endless emails, useless meetings, clients that couldn't make a decision to save their lives. All I wanted was to get home, grab a beer, and collapse on the couch. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Sarah's car parked outside. That immediately felt off. She wasn't supposed to be home. She had told me just 2 nights ago that her company's team-building retreat was running through Thursday. It was only Tuesday. As I stepped into the house, the first thing I saw was her purse sitting by the stairs, wide open, like she had rushed inside. Something was wrong, very wrong. I called out softly, "Sarah?" No response. The house felt unnaturally still. No TV playing, no music, not even her usual humming. And then, from upstairs, I heard it. A faint laugh. A man's voice. Whispers. My heart dropped into my stomach. I moved up the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. My head spun. A part of me prayed I was imagining things, that maybe she'd come home early and was FaceTiming a colleague or a friend. But I already knew better. We always know. The bedroom door was half open. I paused outside, barely breathing. And then, her voice. Moaning. Followed by a man's voice I recognized instantly. Ryan, my best friend, my best man at our wedding, the man I trusted more than my own brother. They were together, laughing, tangled up, like nothing else in the world mattered. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I stood there, frozen, watching my world burn from the inside out. When I finally walked back downstairs, my hands were shaking. My fingernails dug into my palms, drawing blood. My vision blurred with rage. I needed to leave before I did something I couldn't undo. Outside, in the cold air, I tried to breathe. My head spun with thoughts of violence, of rage, of every betrayal that had led me to this moment. That's when I heard tires screech into the driveway. It was Eli. He jumped out of his car the moment he saw my face. He didn't need to ask much. He already knew something was wrong. "Who?" he asked sharply. I couldn't speak. I just pointed toward the house. His face darkened. His jaw tightened. "Someone we know?" I nodded. "Ryan." For a moment, Eli looked like he was about to storm inside himself. But then he stopped, forcing a long exhale. "Jesus. Jake. You were about to go up there, weren't you?" I didn't answer. But he already knew. He grabbed my shoulders, locking eyes with me. "Don't do it. Not like this. You'll ruin your life over 2 people who clearly don't deserve you." My chest heaved. My whole body shook. "But if you give me 1 night," he added, his voice lowering, "I have a better idea. One that'll destroy them far worse than anything you could do tonight." I stared at him, still breathing hard. "What kind of idea?" Eli gave a thin, cold smile. The kind they'll never see coming. We sat in Eli's garage that night, his sanctuary, cluttered with old tools, baseball trophies, and the thick smell of oil and sawdust. He grabbed his whiteboard, wiped off years of dust, and wrote 1 word in big bold letters: leverage. "You want revenge?" he said calmly. "We do it smart. No blood, no cops, just consequences they can't escape." I was still burning inside. The image of Sarah, of Ryan. It replayed over and over like some sick loop. But Eli's cold, focused energy was contagious. It grounded me. "First," Eli continued, "we gather evidence. Every lie, every message, every secret meeting. We document everything. He handed me a burner phone. Start recording everything from here on out. Calls, texts, photos. The more, the better. I already had a few pieces. Calendar entries where Sarah claimed she was away at work retreats. Hotel receipts for weekends she supposedly spent with her mother. And that horrible shaky video I accidentally captured when I peeked into the bedroom earlier. But Eli wanted to build something airtight, something that couldn't be twisted or denied. Over the next 2 weeks, we worked like detectives. I hacked into our shared cloud accounts, found hidden credit card charges, strange Venmo payments to Ryan under fake labels like dog sitting or lunch. There were even emails where Sarah had carefully erased her tracks, but not carefully enough. As the evidence piled up, so did something darker I hadn't expected. I discovered emails between Sarah and Ryan that went far beyond just the affair. They weren't just cheating, they were planning something. In one thread, Ryan wrote, "Once Jake's out of the picture, everything will finally be ours. You'll get the house and alimony. He won't see it coming." And Sarah had replied, "I just need to push a little more. He's already stressed. One small push and he'll snap." My blood ran cold. They weren't just having an affair. They were trying to manipulate me into a breakdown, into losing everything. My house, my assets, my freedom. They wanted me to explode. They were counting on it. Eli read the emails, his face hard as stone. "They were trying to provoke you, Jake. They wanted you to get violent. They wanted you in jail." I sat there shaking, my breath shallow. I had been walking straight into their trap. "But they failed," Eli said. "And now we'll turn their own game against them." Eli's plan evolved quickly. We weren't just exposing an affair anymore. We were going to expose conspiracy to defraud and manipulate. He drafted another anonymous email account, this one aimed directly at Ryan's corporate legal department. Ryan worked for a prestigious wealth management firm, one with a very public zero-tolerance ethics policy. Using the collected emails, texts, hotel bills, and bank transfers, we built a detailed dossier. But Eli didn't stop there. "We need one final nail," he said. "Something they give us freely." That's when we baited them. Eli reached out to Ryan from a fake burner number posing as a disgruntled acquaintance. He hinted that someone knew about the affair and the manipulation. Ryan bit the hook instantly. He responded, "They have nothing. Even if it leaks, Jake's unstable. Everyone knows he's been stressed for months. No judge will believe him." Eli smiled, reading the message. Perfect. He just confirmed intent. We saved every word, every file, every transaction into multiple encrypted backups. This was no longer about emotional revenge. This was legal annihilation. The gathering storm, weeks later, an opportunity arrived. A charity gala. One Sarah insisted we attend to maintain appearances. Ryan would be there too. It was the perfect stage. Eli wired my jacket with a hidden recorder. I carried a tiny pinhole camera on my tie while Eli worked the room, gently pushing Sarah and Ryan to brag, feeding them drinks, complimenting their brilliant plan. Under the glow of soft chandeliers and fake smiles, they performed like arrogant fools. Sarah, tipsy, whispered to Ryan, "Soon he'll be out of the house. The lawyers will do the rest." Ryan chuckled. "His lawyer doesn't know half of it. Once he snaps, it's over." Every word recorded. Every breath sealed their fate. By Monday morning, everything was ready. The evidence was airtight. The timeline was meticulous. And my emotions, finally, were no longer controlling me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was precise. Eli called it the eye of the storm. That eerie silence right before everything breaks apart. The first strike. Corporate execution. We started with Ryan's firm. At 7 a.m. sharp, a thick envelope landed on the desk of the legal department at Prestige Wealth Partners. Inside, full transcripts of the emails revealing the affair. proof of financial misconduct. Ryan had used company funds for several of their secret getaways, disguised as client entertainment. The recorded gala conversation, where both openly discussed manipulating me emotionally for financial gain. The thread where Ryan suggested my supposed mental instability as part of their legal defense. We included no demands, no blackmail, just cold facts, the kind legal teams dread because they force action. An hour later, we triggered the second wave. Anonymous tips to financial compliance boards, licensing agencies, and even Ryan's firm's biggest clients. The language was careful. As concerned citizens, we believe clients deserve transparency when trusting their wealth with advisors who may face imminent ethical investigations. The fuse was lit. The second strike. Social annihilation. Eli had access to several neighborhood forums, alumni groups, even private charity boards Sarah belonged to. The first post went up that evening. Before entrusting your family's financial security or seeking marriage advice, you may wish to be aware of recent allegations involving multiple conflicts of interest, professional misconduct, and an ongoing extramarital relationship that involved attempts to financially manipulate the betrayed spouse. The attached images were blurred, but recognizable to anyone who knew them. We never mentioned names. We didn't have to. In a city like ours, rumors grow faster than truth, and the truth had already been prepared. The final strike. The confrontation. That night, I walked into the house like it was any other evening. Sarah was waiting for me in the kitchen, holding a wine glass, smiling as if nothing had changed. "You're home late," she said, playing her role perfectly. I placed the thick envelope of divorce papers on the counter. She stared at it like it was a bomb. "What's this?" she asked, voice still steady. I looked directly into her eyes, my voice calm, too calm. "A thank you," I said, "for showing me exactly who you are." She began flipping through the documents, confusion quickly morphing into panic as she reached the evidence summaries inside. Her hands shook. Her breathing quickened. "You don't have proof of," I cut her off. "Ryan's firm will terminate him by morning. The financial board is reviewing his license. The videos, the emails, everything is archived and time-stamped. This isn't a negotiation, Sarah." She opened her mouth to speak, but I continued. "You tried to break me. You plotted with my best friend to ruin my life, my finances, my name. You thought you could provoke me into destroying myself. But instead," I leaned in slightly, "you destroyed yourselves." She went pale, and then, almost pathetically, she whispered, "But, Jake, please, we were just confused." I shook my head. "Number you were calculated. That's the difference." Without another word, I turned and walked out of the house. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. The fallout, the next 72 hours were brutal for them. Ryan was immediately suspended pending investigation. By the end of the week, he was fully terminated. Several of his top clients pulled their accounts. 2 filed preliminary lawsuits accusing him of ethical violations that may have jeopardized their investments. His professional license was officially under review. Sarah? Her carefully curated social world evaporated overnight. The charity board quietly asked her to resign. Her so-called friends stopped replying. Even at the gym, once her sanctuary, she suddenly found herself invisible. Our prenup, combined with documented adultery and fraud, stripped her of nearly everything she thought she was entitled to. She tried to fight in court, briefly, but her own emails and recordings buried her case before it even began. She kept the clothes. I kept the house, the finances, the car, and our dog. The unexpected twist, and just when I thought it was over, there was one more surprise. About a month later, Eli discovered something neither of us saw coming. Ryan had been under internal investigation at his firm for months, completely unrelated to the affair. There were discrepancies in client accounts, potential embezzlement. My evidence pushed his file to the top of the pile. He wasn't just unethical in his personal life, he was dirty professionally. Now criminal charges were suddenly on the table. When Eli told me, he just smiled and said, "You didn't just survive them, Jake. You exposed who they really were." Weeks passed. For the first time in months, maybe even years, my life was quiet. Not empty, quiet. The kind of silence that didn't feel heavy or sad. It felt like breathing again. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't much, barely 800 square feet, but it was mine. No more walking into rooms wondering who had been there. No more staring at shared spaces haunted by betrayal. No more pretending. Each morning, I ran 5 miles before work. Each evening, I met with my therapist and finally allowed myself to say the things I'd been swallowing for far too long. The truth. I thought revenge would make me feel whole again. And for a moment, it did. But what truly healed me was realizing I didn't need them to acknowledge what they'd done. Their destruction was never my closure. My peace came when I stopped needing an apology that was never coming. About 2 months after everything fell apart, Sarah reached out. Not through text, not through email. She showed up. I was coming back from my evening run when I saw her waiting by my building's entrance, clutching a small purse, looking nothing like the woman I had married. The confidence, gone. The polished charm, shattered. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked quietly. Part of me wanted to walk right past her, but a stronger part of me, the part that had truly moved on, nodded. 5 minutes. We sat on a bench outside under the dim glow of a street lamp. She spoke first. I can't believe how easily you let me go," she whispered. "How calm you were. How cold." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean how I didn't destroy myself like you expected me to?" She flinched, but said nothing. Then she added, "I never wanted it to end like this. I thought, maybe after some time we could work through it." I was confused. I let her speak. I let her sit in her own words. When she finally stopped, I calmly said, "You weren't confused, Sarah. You were selfish. There's a difference." Tears welled up in her eyes. She reached for my hand, but I gently pulled it back. "I've already forgiven you," I said softly. "Not for your sake, for mine. But that doesn't mean you get a second chance." Her tears finally spilled, and for the first time since this entire nightmare began, I felt nothing. Not hate, not sadness, just release. I stood up, nodded politely, and left her sitting there in the cold. That was the last time we spoke. Ryan's legal troubles escalated quickly. The firm's internal audit uncovered not only financial misconduct, but full-blown embezzlement. He was indicted on multiple charges and quietly accepted a plea deal to avoid serious prison time. His career permanently destroyed. He moved out of state shortly after sentencing. Rumor has it he's living with family and working under the table doing freelance bookkeeping for small businesses who don't know his name. Yet, Sarah. She moved back in with her parents for a while. Last I heard, she was trying to rebuild her life, but no one in our circle really speaks to her anymore. She became that name people whisper about, and quickly changed the subject. And me? I rebuilt. I built something better. A smaller life. A real one. One without secrets, without games, without pretending. Sometimes I still sit quietly at night, thinking back to how close I came to ruining myself that night, standing in that driveway with rage boiling inside me. If Eli hadn't shown up when he did, if I had chosen violence over patience, everything would have been different. But instead, I walked away clean. And they collapsed under the weight of their own lies. A few nights ago, Eli and I grabbed drinks. He raised his glass and said, "To staying out of jail." I laughed. To staying out of their world, I replied. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't rage. It's walking away while they burn down everything they tried to steal.